Alright, so I'm going to work on finishing day 2 part 1 advent of code, which I started yesterday and kind of did a lot of input parsing kind of setup because, you know, when working in the project in C, that's just how it goes. That's part of the challenge. But I at least, let's see where I left off. Got input parsing working and implement logic to actually solve the problem. I think part 1 is easy. Okay, that's where I left off, was trying to figure out, okay, how do you actually decide if a given value in the range is valid or not. So let's start by just making a function that will take a number, or technically it should be a string. So let's make this where it takes the string and it just returns if a given value, if the string is valid. And based on the problem, it being valid has to do with if an ID which is made only of some sequence of digits repeated twice. So it's only, so the keywords is only and twice. I'm guessing part 2 will complicate this by saying it'll either say a string of numbers or a sequence of digits that has some repeated value somewhere within it. So like this would be invalid, but in part 1 it's not that complex. It's not that complicated. And then also it might make it more complicated by not having it be twice, but any number of times. But for now, it's relatively simpler. So let's just kind of set up some test cases. Make print statements that just say is valid. Well, we'll just have the number, which is in this case the number is really a string representing a sequence of digits. And then, okay, so the idea here is we're just having test cases, kind of statements that will display. It'll print out, for example, the output will be something like, you know, 1 2 3 valid, 1 2 3 1 2 3 invalid. That's kind of the idea here, so we can make sure our function's working. So we'll write out some test cases that we know the answer to, and then implement our is valid function such that it's giving us the correct answers or results. So we know that 1 2 3 valid. Actually, what we want to do is not just the hardcode string. It's kind of pointless. What we want to do is if is valid returns true. If it's true, then we'd say valid, invalid. And we know that 1, we'll do a few valids. Now the thing is, we also want to put in some sort of like, well, we can just kind of, we could put in some sort of logic to have the expected value, because right now this has no expected value. This is going to be manually checked by me. Like, so if I come up here and say, if just hardcoded to return true right now, and then we run that, is that how that works? Boolean is not, is it bool? Oh my god. Standard bool. Okay, so right now it's saying 1 2 3 is valid, 1 is valid, which is correct. Then if we add in some cases where we know it won't be valid, like 1 1 or 4 5 4 5, we run that, then it's saying 1 1 is valid. We know that's not the case because the problem statement itself is saying 1 1 is not valid. Sure. And let's just use some examples from the test case, or from the problem, just to make it easy to verify. 11885, 11885. 446, 446. Just gonna clean this up a little bit. Oops. Oh, that's yeah. Doesn't really matter, but it took long to do. Good enough. I really don't need to worry about that. I don't know why I'm not gonna. This is not long-term code. That was honestly pointless overall. Oops, too far. So now if we run that again, you can see this is not the expected result. I could add some logic in the code to actually say like this is not the expected result, but that doesn't really matter, right? This is good enough for manually checking right now because again, this shouldn't be that complicated. So the idea is, I think my first instinct is we should be able to just kind of split the string down the middle and then say, is the first half equal to the second half? I think that will work. At least for these constraints that we're currently working with, that should be fine. So let's just try implementing that and see how that goes and see if that works for our short input and then our long input. We'd want to get the length of the string. Maybe don't call it str length because that's literally the function I'm going to use. First off, if length is not even, we already know that the string cannot be invalid because it wouldn't be able to. Well, that's not true. Wait, is that true? Well, yeah. If we're going off the stipulations or the assumption that splitting the string in half is a way to define if it's valid or not, then if the string was odd, there would be no way for it to be one sequence repeated twice because any number by times 2 is even. So if it's odd, by default, it's valid. But if that's not the case, then we'll need to split it by 2. So just first off the top of my head, it's probably a substring method, but let's just do the first thing off the top of my head, see how that goes, then update it as needed. Or make a, not even update as needed, as in fix the code, make it work. Like this might work just fine, but then let's go back and revise it and make it a better solution. So first naive idea is just do 2 for loops. One that loops through the first half, one that loops through the second half. String. So we loop through from 0 to length divided by 2. So if length, let's say length was 6, then 6 divided by 2 equals 3. So we'd go 0 to 3. So 0, 1, 2. That seems correct. Can I modify? I always forget how char stars work. So that works, of course, but if I come in here and try to change this to that, that doesn't work. Oh, it does work. What? But that didn't work. Okay. Well, the problem is we want to append. Well, let's make it an array. So we're going to make 2 strings that are both half the length of the original string, that sequence of digits. And then we will have some index for these. And say, okay, this for the first half, we'd say the current, the current index into this string would equal num string of the ith character in num string. And let's just see if that worked. Just do a little sanity check here. String length divided by 2, operates a involved in binary. What? Oh, because I called the variable length, not Sterling. So I'm going to pronounce C things. Okay, so first half is 5 in... Well, let's print out the actual string so we can more easily debug. Oops. Okay, so now let's clear this and run this. So we can see, okay, the num string is 1, 2, 3, or that's odd, okay. First one down here. First half is 1i junk junk. Oh, that makes sense though. Because it's saying the first half is 1 followed by some junk. Well, the junk is because this is nonsensical. Like there's no, it's junk. It's uninitialized memory, right? Can I do that? No. Can I do that? No. Except with an empty initializer. That's what I want to do though. I want to give it an empty initializer. Shouldn't? What does an empty initializer look like then? Okay, that is wrong though. So this one I thought it was working. This one it's not. Oh, because I'm not incrementing per step index. Let's see. Okay, that one's actually working now. We still have the junk that we're dealing with. So we'll figure that out. What did they call it? An empty initializer? If I try to do this, it'll complain about may not be initialized except with empty initializer. American Mem, so I'm just curious if there's like a clean way to do something like that. Yeah, you'd think that, isn't that what I tried? I tried doing an empty string. But didn't work. Because it's variable length? I don't know. It doesn't matter. We can just do memset. If I remember the args to memset. Let's see. Memset pointer x value to be filled 0. Number of bytes would be okay, still junk volume or junk junk volume. Junk values. Okay, so here's this for example. Memset this times size of character, right? Oh, sure. Wait, what? I don't understand. I mean, length times 2. Length times 2 is 1. So we have 1. So why, when we're printing this out, does it print out so many values? Why is it printing out so many values? just do the single case so we can kind of narrow down our, clean up our output a little bit. Okay. Why is there so much garbage in there? And why are we printing that out? Because I never put a null character anywhere? Is that why? Is this wrong? Does this need to not be a 0 but needs to be a null character? No? That doesn't make a difference, does it? No, not at all. Interesting. Because, I mean, we're making a character array of length 1. And then we're setting essentially 0, the 0th character, to the ith character, the 0th character of number string. So why does that? I don't understand. Why is it being filled with so much garbage? Let's do a different test case. Oops. I mean, it's grabbing the right character. Why is there junk left over? Interesting. In this case it should be 2, which is true. Length by 2 is 2 right there. Okay, it works if I do that. Interesting, but if I do a variable that's 2, then it causes junk. Why? Okay, so when I use a variable as the size or the length of the array, it causes weirdness. But if I do a constant, like a hard-coded value, it doesn't do that. There is no junk. Wow. Exact same phrasing. See, I'm not doing malloc though, but I don't know if it's the same thing. I mean, should I just do malloc? Why is that happening though? I don't think that's what I'm looking for. Memory corruption, that sounds familiar. Strange. You have to declare You have to declare array after you write in. This do not seem like the issues that I'm having. I'm not doing anything the size of though. I bet if I malloc it's fine, right? Because it's the variable length array that's really the issue. So instead I make a string with calloc that's length. Oops, too few arguments to calloc. With number of items and the size of each element. Okay, see that works fine. But why does that not work? Let me make a little sandbox program to kind of keep that and look into that later. Because we can keep making progress on the problem, but I kind of want to figure out why that was behaving the way it was. So what was happening was if we had a size, and then we tried to make an array that was a string of length, and then we also, just to keep it consistent, we memset the string was just length in this case. We'll just keep it consistent because I was doing length over 2 over here, but really I was just the overall length is just consistent across. So in the sandbox project or program we can just have length. And then we loop through that same number of elements and we'd write each element of the string, each character of the string would be some string, some character from some other string based on the loops, the for loops variable. So we just need our string index. We also just need our other character or other string. Right? And then we print out the string at the end. What's the declaration? Oh, sure. What is it? String? We need to import for that? Yeah. Okay, so string AB. So that actually works here. So what was different, you think? Oh, you know what it probably was? Probably was the fact that we're passing. Okay. Here's what the problem is. We're passing in a string. This string that down here is 4545, and in the main scope, it knows that this string is really 4545 null character. So if we were to in the main loop say Sirlane that string, it would output 4. But the weird thing is, what I was about to say was when you're passing in this, it doesn't actually know. No, that shouldn't matter. That shouldn't be an issue. No, that's not an issue because one, that null character is part of the string here, right? I think. If you just pass this in like this, it automatically puts a null character at the end of this string literal. One, so that's not actually an issue, and two, we're getting the right output when we printed length anyways. So that's not the problem. I was thinking Stirling wouldn't know how to get the length of this, but that's not the case at all. Like sure, if you did size, you know, if you pass in a pointer and you do, that's a totally different thing. I'm not even going to get into that. That's not the issue. So one, why can I not recreate the issue over here? And 2, why was the issue a thing at all? That's kind of the problem here. Okay, let's at least get this working, and by working I mean reproducing the same issue of not working from the main code. Let's just copy it, I guess. So I'm just copying this, just renaming stuff where it makes sense. Oh, actually we don't do the calc line, we want to do the commented out code. So it would be a character array of length over 2. We would memset full of zeros. Oh, no, that's not an issue. Wait, is that an issue? Oh, you know what it might be? It might be a freaking multiplication thing. An order of operation situation. Let me see. Let me make sure I'm recreating the error. Oh, still happening. Okay, interesting. That wasn't it. So weird. Okay, let me just go back to trying to recreate it. Length over 2, mem setting. Let's just leave this here. Okay. So we're calling foo with 4545. Okay, cool. We recreated it. But if I do this in main, does that cause an issue? Because I thought that's what I was doing down here. Yet lo and behold, I wasn't getting that issue. Okay, it's still happening in main. Cool. So I don't actually need an external function at all. And then again, if I instead of doing this, I just say, let's have a char star that is calicked. Over 2 in size of char. Then it gets rid of the issue, question mark. Oh. I thought I... Okay. So that gets rid of the issue. Why though? Why is that an issue? What's happening? See, when that happened to work that time, but it won't always work. Again, this is one of those issues. This is one of those situations where I have a solution around the issue, and I could continue making progress on the problem, you know, by just, you know, using calc instead of doing all this stuff, and it works, and I keep making progress on the problem. but I really want to understand what the issue was here. Like, my curiosity for what's going on there is much stronger than my desire to actually finish the problem. So, and I mean, the whole point of this is to kind of mess around with C and learn and just get more familiar, so it's not a bad idea. It's just funny though that this problem has taken like, I don't know, like 2 hours at this point, and I haven't even really started on the actual problem logic of, I mean, I guess parsing input is technically part of the, you know, it's part of the problem, but it's just funny how that works with C. Why is this a problem? I guess that's where we're gonna leave off for now. Come back and try to figure that out.